What is up, everyone? I am Joe DeHoyos. I am host of Beyond the Woodline. Real quick before we get started, I'm sharing this out, by the way. Um, just want to make a couple of announcements to you guys. For you guys who don't know, I am the executive director of the JRG, which stands for the Gentleman Research Group. We search for and investigate sightings on Bigfoot. If you're interested in joining that group, we have teams in New York State, Florida, Louisiana, Minnesota, Maine, California, Oregon. Did I say Oklahoma already? Of course, here in Texas, where I'm at, um, Michigan, and a few other states I can never remember. If you're interested in joining that group, and let me know, hit me up, beyond.woodline@gmail.com. We'll get you started. We do vet everyone that we set you up with or everyone that joins the team. If there's no one in your state, and even if there is someone in your state, you just want to start your own team, that's fine with us too. But like I said, we will vet you, and we will vet anyone else too, for that matter. Because unfortunately, there are crazy people in this world, so we try to, watch out for everybody, and that's part of what you should do: research the researchers. You join up with anybody, check them out, make sure they're good to go. Um, Also, real quick, if you guys are interested, I've got a friend of mine. Her name is Steffi. She has a Etsy shop, Steffi's Creations. Check her out, man. I've got a couple of REM pods from her right back here. You can't really see them, but there's two of them back here. They're really great pieces of equipment. I don't get paid by her. She doesn't sponsor me. I don't get any kind of kickbacks. But if you go to her Etsy shop, type in Woodline under the discount code, you'll get 15% off. And like her description, her link is in my description of this show. And also, if you're interested in 3D products, go check out Layered Legends. His link also is in the description. And again, he's not sponsoring me. He's not paying me. I don't get any kickbacks. These two people are just really, really cool people. And I've been lucky enough to meet them and do some business with them. And excellent people. You want some good people to work with, those are two of them. So go check them out. Um, with all that being said, I know you guys don't tune in to hear me ramble off at the mouth. I have with me tonight Mr. Tommy Cullum. How you doing, Tommy?
Hello, sir. I'm excited to be here, man. Thank you
Man,
very
dude,
much.
yeah. Last week I did your show, Let's Get Freaky. Uh,
Yeah, man.
yeah, for all you guys tuning in, man, check him out, man. He's got a great podcast, and so it was a lot of fun to be on your show, man. So I do appreciate that.
Well, it was a pleasure having you, man.
Yeah, man.
Super interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I was man, I told you that that Hat Man story. And that's the story. Like I said, I may have told two or three people the full story the way I told you. You know,
Wow, thank you, man.
yeah, and yeah,
Wild.
yeah. There was probably a couple more stories I could have told you, but
You got to come
yeah,
back on. We'll have to
yeah,
do it again.
yeah, we'll have to do it again for sure. But yeah, if you don't mind, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what got you started into this crazy world that we're both involved in?
Yeah, man. Well, I've always been fascinated with the paranormal ever since I can remember. Since being a little kid, I was always one of those kids that was scared of the dark from day one. Like, I always felt like there was something in my room. I was always, a nervous little kid when it came to the paranormal, but it always fascinated me as well. Um, we grew up in a haunted house. Your classic things used to go missing. You'd hear strange noises. We all felt there was a vibe there. We all felt it. My mum, my dad, my brother. I suppose probably the biggest experience which sort of really kick-started me, I guess, was when I woke up one night and there was a man in my room. That I just thought it was there was a man just sitting there in my room at my desk, and I freaked out. And that was it for me. Once I saw that, that was the start, and I've been on this path ever since, really, trying to work out what it was.
Yeah. So real quick, Mike Stevens, this is both amazing guys. Nothing but love. Thank you, Mike. You're a great guy
Thank
too.
you, Mike.
I don't think I had you on the show yet. I think we tried a couple times, but we had stuff going on. I think one time I had the crazy weather I had. And here's Miss Sandra Piper. She says hello, Joe, and hello, Tommy. I hope you're feeling better, Sandra. Sandra's, man, she's my ride or die. I'm gonna tell you right now. She's been with me since day one, so she's out. She's off. She's really, really cool. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the guy that you saw. I mean, what did he look like? I mean,
Yeah,
what?
so I'll take you back to the setting of my room. So me and my brother shared a bedroom.
Mhm.
We had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk, and it was a fairly big room. You know, we had a telly in the room. You know, it's a typical boys' room, and we had a big desk in our room as well. And as I say, I was a scared kid, so I was always waking up during the night and calling my mum and dad in, or getting into bed with my mum and dad, because I was always scared. I always felt like there was something watching me in the room, as kids do.
Mhm.
Uh, but this one particular night, I woke up, all the lights are off, but you could see, like, we had Fred Flintstone window curtains in our
Okay.
room, and you could just really clearly see through the street lights Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble all the time during the night. So that was freaky enough. But I woke up and I've looked down at my desk, and there was a man sitting there at my desk, full-bodied, sort of leaning on my desk, looking up in my direction, and he looked like, the only way I can describe, he looked like William Shakespeare. That was that. I'm not saying it was William Shakespeare, but
Yeah.
that was the look. Like, he had long brown hair, a little beard, was wearing like a little brown suit with a little white thing around his neck, whatever they're called. He had like long brown boots on, like very. I can remember him like perfectly,
Mhm.
and he was like full-bodied, like he was just there. And I don't think at straight away I was thinking ghost. Like, I was just freaked out that there was a man sitting in my room, and I just remember screaming for my mum. She's come in, probably used to me doing this because I was always, as I say, doing that as a kid. And she came into the room, and I could still see him just sitting there. And I'm going, Mum, there's a man sitting there at the desk. And I was terrified. I was so scared. And my mum was like, calm down, there's nothing there. She couldn't see him.
Mhm.
And I remember she's gone up to the desk and stuff. I can't remember if she's gone through him or anything like that, but she's gone over there. She's come back to me. She's trying to calm me down. And I'm like, no, I was, adamant that I was wanting to get out of the room. I was terrified. And my mum, I remember she was like, she wasn't super angry, but she was making me stay in that room. You know, she was like, get in, you're not coming in to our room, because I think that's something I used to do quite a lot. Now,
Yeah.
bearing in mind, I'm 10 years old at this point, so I should be staying in my room. You know,
Right.
it's weird that I'm getting into bed with my mum and dad, I guess, but anyway, so I ended up staying in the room, which I still sort of can't believe that I did. But I just remember going under my covers, sweating, and just looking, and this guy was still sitting there. I could still see him there.
Hmm.
And I just remember doing this all through the night, and the fear was unreal. And I just remember waking up the next morning. Somehow I fell asleep that night. That man wasn't there, obviously, in the morning, and I never saw that man again. But that was a moment for me that was like, that this is real.
So was he like transparent, or was he like a real person?
He was just solid, just like a real person sitting there. Wasn't
Wow.
see through, wasn't shining or anything. As I say, I could see through, like the light was coming through the curtains,
Mhm.
so you could see the layout of the room. You could see the room perfectly when it was, even when all the lights were off.
Yeah.
But I could just see him. I could see, and it was, yeah, it was terrifying, man. It
Yeah.
was terrifying.
So so after that, did anybody else have any kind of sightings of anyone in the house at all?
So in that same room, I
Okay.
never saw anything again
Mhm.
that I can remember in that room. But my brother saw, he woke up, had a similar sort of experience where he woke up during the night, but he saw two red eyes, just red eyes, and he said they just started coming towards him. And that's the memory that he has in there.
Mhm.
And my brother's a lot more skeptical than me. He's like, when I talk to him about it now, he's like, yeah, it could. Like, we all admit it was very strange, that house.
Yeah.
Like, it really was. When we left, my dad was like, "Thank God we got out of that house." It was, something wasn't right there.
Yeah.
We had good times in the house. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but there was something there. I didn't
Yeah.
see anything else in that room, but I
Mhm.
did see. There was another time when I was in my mum and dad's bedroom, and I was sort of being silly in front of their mirrors that they had in their room, and they had like an ensuite in their bedroom. And I just remember and I think this was after that experience of seeing the man, but I was just sort of mucking about in the bedroom and doing what I was doing, whatever. I can't remember exactly what I was doing, but a naked lady walked past me. Again, it was full-bodied, blonde, naked lady walked past me and went into the bathroom. Now, I just thought it was my mum because she was blonde, and she would sometimes walk around naked. So I started talking to her, Mum. I'm talking to her. I followed her into the bathroom, thinking it's my mum, and then I walked in there, and there was no one in there, and I was like, I was just remember being shocked, like what. I just saw my mum walk past me. I ran downstairs, like, Mum, just saw you walk past me. And she was fully clothed. And so that was the other thing that I saw in that house. And again, that was a full, like, it was more of a side view, but it was, from what I can remember, full bodied, solid. Yeah, scary stuff, man.
So I guess your parents, did they like believe you, or what do you? Okay.
I think they did. Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the time they say to me, "No, like you're seeing things and stuff," and it wasn't until we left that my dad was like, "Yeah, the house was haunted."
Okay.
They never saw anything,
Mhm.
but they felt it. They heard the
Yeah.
noises. Things went missing.
Mhm.
The lady that we bought the house off a lady that we believe her husband possibly died in the house.
Mhm.
We're not 100% sure of that. But yeah, so my dad wanted to get out.
Mm. Yeah. So I kind of feel like maybe they knew a lot more than what they were admit to the
Yeah.
kids, right? They probably didn't want to scare you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I know. Talking to them now, like they'll say, yeah, like it was haunted. Those
you
things
know.
go.
Yeah. You
And my
know.
mum always says now, sorry, my mum always says, I feel so bad leaving you in that room and making you stay in there that night,
Mhm.
because she listens to me talk about this all the time, and she's like, oh,
Yeah.
she feels bad, but it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. 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 You know. So did you get the sense, or what do you think now? Do you think whatever was there was quote evil or demonic? What do you think? They were just living there like you guys were.
Yeah, I mean, I never used to think anything like that until recent. I don't know about you, but the more I talk to people,
Mhm.
and they sort of give me their opinion, and I sort of think, yeah, you know what, it could be that. And someone did say to me recently, like, that sounds like demonic. The things that you're experiencing, like
Mhm.
the negativity, the being scared all the time, and what my brother saw as well with the red eyes is quite,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound nice.
Right.
But I'm not sure. I just at the time, and I've just always thought of the house as haunted.
Mhm.
It was very close to a graveyard. It was about half a mile from a graveyard.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if it was anything to do with that.
Mhm.
It wasn't a particularly old house. I don't think it was well, you don't know what was there before.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, it was. We was definitely happy to get out of there. That's for sure.
Yeah. Whatever was there. I mean, and this is just my opinion. It may not necessarily have been evil or demonic, but it probably didn't want you guys there. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean
and
that's
you felt that, and you
okay.
felt like. I mean, I remember this one time. I was off school sick, and our school was quite close to the house as well, and you could literally see. I could see my mum walking to the school, and my mum was like, "I've got to go and pick up your brother. I'm going to leave you here.
Mhm.
You can see me through the window, so don't worry. I know I probably shouldn't have been left there. So
Mhm.
another bad move, mum, but it is what it is." And I just remember my mum being out, and I could see her, walking to the school, and I could see her pretty much the whole time. But I was so scared, man. I just really felt like there was, even as a kid, that there was something there that, didn't want us
Yeah.
there or wasn't nice, or, just a bad vibe.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
well, even as an adult, like I told you, the house that I used to live in, when I was there by myself, it was, like I said, whatever was there wasn't evil or bad or demonic, and I don't think it was ever like trying to force us out, but it was just kind of unnerving. And I would always like kind of tell myself, especially like when I was there by myself or in the middle of the night, please don't pop up, please don't pop up, I don't want to see anything.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I do now.
yeah,
I'm laying in bed, even though I love this stuff.
Mhm.
And I wanted, I do, when you experience something paranormal, it's scary, as you know, but it's fascinating as well. Like, you
Yeah.
want to see it, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's always like when you're not expecting it,
Hmm.
and
Oh
then when
yeah.
when it pops up just out of
Hmm.
nowhere, like I think I was telling you that I actually saw that gray smoky apparition walk across the living room and the kitchen. The one in the kitchen was, I don't know, maybe like 10 feet away from me, and then the one in the living room was probably, I don't know, 12, 15 feet away from me. But those didn't scare me. What scared me was the one that I woke up in the middle of the night and saw her standing right next to my bed. That's the one that scared me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Someone is asking, which part of England is Tommy from?
So I am from Essex,
Okay.
which is right next to London.
Okay.
I was about a half an hour drive to London, pretty close. Now I live in Dorset, which is about 2 hours from London. I've been in Dorset now for coming up to 3 years, but really I'm a London boy, Essex boy.
Oh, okay.
I used to work in London.
Mhm. Cool. Yeah. So what made you pull the trigger and say, you know what, I, I want to do the podcast? And what made you interested in the other subjects like the cryptids and UFOs and stuff too?
Well, I've had some UFO experiences as well to tell you about.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Let's start with that real quick then.
yeah, so my first, I would say, UFO experience was when I was 14. And I remember this was like, it was a beautiful summer's day, and we used to play football in the street all the time, like pretty much as a kid, soccer. That's all we did was play football in the street. And I just remember this day, we was all playing, and my brother was there, and a few other lads that we played with. I can't remember exactly who they were, but we all stopped, and we looked up, and we saw this thing in the sky that none of us could work out what it was. It wasn't moving. It was quite high up, but we could see it, and it was like a silvery orange color, and it was it looked like a building, but just floating in the sky. That's I know that sounds crazy, but that's what it looked like. It looked like just a futuristic building just hovering, and we're watching it for like 10 minutes trying to work out what it was. Is it a balloon? We're going through all the scenarios what it could be, and this part bugs me because to this day we just started playing football again. We didn't see it fly off, didn't see it disappear. I can't even remember if we looked. We probably did after we finished playing football if it was there. I don't remember. But that bugs me because
Yeah.
thinking back, it was an incredible thing to see.
Right. Yeah.
When I started the podcast, I was writing down all the stuff that I'd experienced throughout my life, paranormal, and I didn't think I'd had that much really, which is quite funny. But now looking, I have had quite a lot. But I remember I was talking on another podcast about this, what we saw, and my brother was listening to the show, and he called me up a couple of days later, and he was like, "Bruv, what was that we saw that day?" And why have we never really spoke about it? We never really, which is weird because it was a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
But I put that in the UFO category. I don't know what it was. It looked like, the way I describe it now is if you look at a building in Dubai, these futuristic
Right.
buildings, it just looked like one of them just in the sky, not moving. Very, very strange, but a cool thing to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever heard of that before? Have you heard anyone describe that same thing?
No. I mean, I've seen pictures online close to it, but not exactly what we saw. Yeah, I've not seen anything else like it. And I just remember at the time we couldn't work out what it was. It was very strange. And this is before obviously mobile phones and stuff, so I couldn't get a picture of it, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it was a cool. And it was cool that my brother remembered it as well. Because I was thinking, what friend? We was always with different friends in the street and stuff, and
Right.
but my brother remembers seeing that as well.
Yeah. I don't think I ever looked up in the sky when we were playing our football or baseball or whatever. I don't. I think we're too busy running
Just
around
in the
acting like
game,
fools.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just in
Yeah.
the game, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
that bugs me. It bugs me that we carried on playing, and I now if I saw that, I'd be watching that until I'd be putting it on
dude,
Instagram.
if I'm outside, I'm usually looking up.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I catch myself doing that so much. I'm always
Mhm.
looking up. I'm surprised I don't
Yeah.
trip over something sometimes. But, yeah, just looking up. Man.
Well, if you're looking for this stuff, you're going to see some stuff. I've seen other things in the sky I can't explain. I think if you're interested like we are, you're going to see some stuff.
Yeah, and I think once people see this stuff too, they start looking up a little bit more too, because yeah,
Hmm.
or start paying attention to your surroundings a little bit more. Not everything is paranormal, not everything is interdimensional, but pay attention sometimes, and I think people will find a lot of weird stuff goes on in this world, and you know, there's no explanation for it really.
100%. And once you see one thing, that's it.
Yeah,
You're open, and you're
yeah.
going to see more.
Has your government come out and talked about this like the way that our government has already?
Not really.
No.
No, we don't. No, which is frustrating. I mean, I try and stay away from the news now. I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie, the news bugs me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Me too, man.
I probably watch more American news than I do UK news, to be honest. I'm probably more in the loop on that than
Yeah.
I am on the UK, because it just, every time I watch the news, I just end up getting wound up.
Yeah.
But no, not really. I mean, they do talk about UFOs are talked a lot more in the mainstream now.
Okay.
On just there's shows on the UK, like during the day, like there's a show called Loose Women. I don't know if you guys know about that, but it's just where a group of women talk about women stuff, basically.
Okay. Okay.
And I was watching that a little while ago. I don't know why I was watching that, but they were talking about UFOs on that. So there is like becoming more of a,
Hmm.
I feel like it's out there. I think, and that's what they want. I think they're putting it out there for us.
So did you have an opinion on our Congress coming out and talking about it and holding a big conference on it? Did you have an opinion on that?
It's interesting because before they did that,
Hmm.
we're saying, you know, UFOs are real, whatever. There's stuff going on, and then as soon as the government starts talking about it, you're like, hmm,
Yeah.
this is a psyop, or
Yeah. Your head fake.
I don't trust them. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It,
I
it
don't
makes
know.
you wonder why they're talking about it, and I don't know. I think maybe they well, not even them, but maybe the American public just doesn't even care. Like, okay, we already knew about all this. You're not saying anything we don't know. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
Because they didn't really say anything that that we
I
didn't know. But even the guys that were talking to Congress, they were they've been on every podcast. And they were
Yeah,
everything they said we've all heard it. So there was really nothing new for us. And like I
yeah.
said, I don't think the government said anything that was groundbreaking news. They just kind of regurgitated everything that we already knew. So
Hmm.
the American
I
people
find
didn't give a shit.
I find it interesting how people are sort of like, oh, it's UFOs. Yeah, like some people are. Some
Mhm.
people are just like not. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's very strange what's going on
Mhm.
at the moment.
Mhm.
And I used to watch, obviously, because I've been interested like you interested in these subjects for years. Like before, I would say now we're in quite a good times with the paranormal, because it seems to be more mainstream
Right? Yeah.
across the board,
Yeah.
like everything, Bigfoot, everything.
Mhm.
Um, Before it, you sort of, even though we've got like millions of podcasts now, and so many avenues that we can watch this stuff on, and information that we can get, you used to sort of have to find stuff a little bit more, like
Yeah.
you get a documentary here and there. And they always used to say, like, when it comes to the UFO stuff, that the governments will start drip feeding information to get people used to this, and drip drip drip,
Yeah.
and that does seem to be happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
They're breadcrumbing us.
Yeah, they give us little bits to the
Yeah.
point when
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird.
So what are your thoughts on UFOs in general? What do you think they are?
I think they're a mixture of all different things. I do think there are, possibly interdimensional beings around us all the time.
Mhm.
I do think there could be some that are coming to visit from other places, and I do think some of it could be technology that we just haven't, secret government technology. I do think some of it could be that as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a mixture of it all, and I think that's where it can get a little bit confusing, because I think you can't put this stuff in one box.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the government knows that, and they're just as happy with us being confused. And
Yeah.
because when you think about it, it's like how can I really say that what I saw was a non-planetary or extraterrestrial craft? What if it really was a craft from our government?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you know. You know, so I think the government would be happy with me not knowing one way or the other. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They want us confused and arguing,
Mhm.
and I guess they do have to have secret stuff as well. You
Mhm.
know, to an extent. There was something else I saw very strange in the sky, which I put in the UFO category, but
Mhm.
could possibly be something else. And this was when I was 21 years old, and I was living in Brentwood, Essex, and we used to live in a flat, and we was four. The flat was 4 stories high, and we was on the top floor. And me and my mother-in-law were just talking at the window, looking out, and there was sort of like a forested area opposite our flat. And we're just talking, and again, it was a nice summer's day, very clear day, and these 3 objects came out from the trees. Now they weren't super big; they were like the size of a basketball,
Mhm.
but there was 3 of them, and they were sort of moving around each other, but they weren't touching. They weren't connected, but they were sort of seen connected, but they weren't actually touching. They were just sort of
Yeah.
moving around each other, and they were constantly changing shape.
Hmm.
Whatever these things were, they were never the same shape, and they were constantly moving, like they were sort of like, the film Flubber, where the
Yeah.
green is
Yeah.
just constantly like that, but it was like
Oh.
a
Yeah.
silver color, like they were silvery, and they were just sort of moving around each other. And me and my mother-in-law are looking at each other, going, what is that? Like, what are they, balloons? Like, well, again, we're going through all this, what they could be, but we
Mhm.
got a very clear view of
Hmm.
these things, and we're watching them. We're watching them for whatever it was, 5 minutes, whatever it was, and they've got so high in the sky, and we can still see them. And then all of a sudden, they've gone flash, 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 and all 3 of them just shut off. And that was the point when I was like, "Wow! Like, what was that?" Like,
Hmm.
I put that in the UFO category. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
very
Hmm.
strange, man. And the thing that bugs me there, I had my iPhone in my pocket, and I
Oh.
didn't even think about getting it out at the time because we was just so shocked with what we were
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah. You know, when I saw those, and I told you on your show, when I saw those 2 lights coming at each other and they made a couple of circles and then they took off, I actually tried to record it on my phone, but it was so dark on my phone, couldn't pick it up. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But
a
but
lot
I
of
think
the
when stuff like that happens, people don't think to get their phones out. You know, they
no,
just don't. Yeah,
no.
yeah,
You always think as well when you see some of these videos and you got the shaky hands, and you're
yeah.
like, man,
My,
keep it still. I want to see it. And but
yeah,
I get it. You're in that moment. And it's hard to catch stuff.
yeah. My
When you're
mom,
seeing something.
my mom says hi. Yeah,
Yeah,
and or like the blurry pictures or blurry video, like
they're always
stay in
blurry.
focus, stay
Yeah,
in focus.
stay still, man.
Yeah,
But I get it. It's so hard. Like
yeah,
you're seeing something incredible, and I've seen you see things in the sky that you don't know what they are. A light moving across the sky that's moving in weird directions or something like that, and you try and record it on your phone. It doesn't look like a
mhm.
lot of the time it doesn't look like anything. So
So
yeah,
you
man.
guys also have your own Roswell, right?
hmm Yes,
And
yeah.
where was that at?
Is that? I believe that is in Ipswich. I think. Well, I haven't actually been to the spot yet. I should. I should go. But
Yeah,
yeah, we did.
how far of a drive is that for you?
It used to be a lot closer. Now it's probably about 3 or 4 hours, I believe.
Dude, I'd be there.
I know. I've got to go. I know.
Yeah.
And that was at an American base, I believe.
Was it? Well, I know the Americans were involved in it, which doesn't surprise me a single bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the soldiers that saw the craft were American. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I should. I should. I need to get down there. They've got
Yeah.
the model there and stuff. And
Oh yeah. Shoot, yeah. That'd be a good place to go check out and
yeah,
hang out. There was actually like a cross, across. There was a crash across the border, the Mexican border, and I don't know, maybe like in the 50s or something like that, also. And shit, our troops went over there, and took it away from the Mexican government.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's why I said I'm not surprised that Americans were over there, even if they probably shouldn't have been.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I,
We're gonna stick our nose everywhere.
I had, yeah, I had a gentleman on the show, a really nice guy, who's telling his story of when he was in the military in the UK,
Mhm.
and I believe, what war was it? I can't remember what war it was. It wasn't too long ago. It was about 40 years ago or something like that. I can't remember exactly where it was, but there was a crash that he had to guard, a crashed UFO,
Mm.
and he didn't see any of the bodies brought out of the the UFO, but he saw the UFO. He saw the crashed ship, and he said the Americans came over with two Chinooks, picked it up, and he saw this, and they took it back to America. Oh, I need to remember the name of where it was. Oh, it's bugging me.
Oh,
I think it was the Falklands. Was it the Falklands? I'd have to look it up, man. That's
yeah.
poor that I can't remember that. But yeah, he saw that.
Hmm. That'd be interesting to check out and find out more about. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So, what's the cryptid situation there in the UK?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got my Bigfoot top on.
Yeah.
I love.
Dude, that's a
I'm,
nice shirt actually too. I actually like that one.
thank you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I Bigfoot. I love that. Is the dream to see Bigfoot one day. I'm gonna come over there with you, man, and
Yeah.
I want to look for the big guy.
Yeah.
We get reports of Bigfoots over here. I've spoken to people that have seen Bigfoot over here. It seems to be more in Scotland and places like that.
Okay.
So far up, but I mean, again, these things pop up everywhere. It's difficult because I know you're flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of at the moment, my opinion changes every day.
Yeah.
At the moment, I feel like if they're here in the UK, it's more of a supernatural element. That's just where I am right now, because I feel like, we're a lot smaller. There's not many places to hide. If they're here and they were flesh and blood, I would have thought they'd be seen a lot more. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think that there's, probably a couple of different entities running around. I think there's probably a flesh and blood. I think there is a supernatural, and maybe there is an interdimensional one. I don't know. That's kind of a little bit harder for me to swallow because if you're interdimensional, what the hell are you doing coming to Earth? There's probably tons of other great planets to go to. You know,
Yeah.
you know.
Unless we're the best, man. This could be the best one.
Dude, if we're the best one, this universe is in trouble, man. This universe is in trouble. You know.
I've got where I live, so I've got a big forest behind me, and when I moved here, I didn't know anything about this. So, and if I did know about it, I would have moved here a lot quicker because it's really cool. But there's a devil dog law. They call it the devil dog, and it's so basically I didn't know anything about this, and I can tell you a few things that have happened to me that might be related to it. I'm not saying it definitely is, but once you hear it, you might possibly. So I didn't know anything about this devil dog law. When I first moved to this house, so the forest is it's literally a 2-minute walk. It's very close. When I first moved to this house, I used to, so I work late at night, so I'm up all through the night. So I used to be sitting in the front room and I would hear a growling outside the house. And it just sounded like a big dog to me. And a lot of people have got dogs around here. So I always just thought, it's a dog. That someone's let their dog out at night and it's just coming near. It used to sound like it was right outside our window and it was like growling. And I'd look, see if I could see it, could never see it. But I still never used to think, I never used to think anything weird about it. I just thought, it's out there somewhere. Someone's let their dog out. A guy used to have a big, I think it was a Rottweiler. So I just thought it was that. It sounded like a big dog. Anyway, so that happened. That didn't really last that long. That happened a few times. And I was talking to someone at work, and I was talking about the podcast and that I'm interested in this sort of stuff. And they were like, "Oh, you need to read this book I've got. It's about our area." And literally, just in the forest behind us, we've got the devil dog law. Like people see this thing that looks like it's got red eyes, and it's sort of described as like the dog man. You can smell it sometimes, you can hear it sometimes, and there's all these different accounts in this book. So I was like, oh wow, there is a devil dog law. And I still didn't put that to the growling outside, but it could be, I don't know. But so I'm in this forest all the time, and I took my daughters to the forest. This was on one occasion, and So we're walking through the forest, and it's getting late. And my eldest, Amy, who would have been 11 at the time, just started freaking out. She was saying, "Dad, I've just seen a Bigfoot." Like, okay, and I'm like, "Calm down, calm down." Like, to be honest, I'm thinking you haven't seen a Bigfoot. You know,
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah,
freaked.
just like you didn't see a ghost sitting in your
Yeah,
room. But go ahead.
yeah. See, I've been a massive hypocrite. I know. And I'm going, you've not seen a Bigfoot. Like, calm down. Where was it? Where was it? You've not seen it, but where was? And she's pointing to quite far in the distance, but she said, I saw this big thing. She described it as like a Bigfoot with yellow eyes. This is how she described it. And I'm like thinking, yeah, no, she hasn't. She's probably watched one of my documentaries
Yeah.
that she shouldn't be watching, because I try not to let them watch that sort of stuff. But that's all I'm thinking. I'm thinking she's seen one of my shows, and she's just got something in her head. Anyway, so that's another thing that happened that possibly could be related to it. And then, so I didn't have a dog at that time, but now I've got a dog. I've got a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. He's a crazy little dog. You know, he loves people, but he's crazy. You know, he's not nasty, but he's just a crazy dog. He's very excited, not scared of anything. We've got bulls in the forest, and he'll just run at them. You know, he's not worried about anything. And I took him down the forest with the family as well, and I take him every day to this forest. And on this one occasion, he just stopped, freaked out at something that he could see that none of us could see. And I was like, Blue, what's the matter, man? He just really freaked out, like to the point where I sort of had to pick him up and move him forward, you know. And there was something there that was bugging him, really scaring him, but we couldn't see it, whatever it was. I'm not saying that it's definitely that, but it's just, it's weird. And that happened on 2 occasions. Happened with me at that time, and it also happened with my wife another time. What else has happened there? Oh yeah, so, and another thing, I took the kids on a bike ride through the forest, and there's this little route that they can go down where I sort of watch them, and it's like half a mile long, whatever it is, but they can ride off, but I can see them the whole time. So I'm standing there watching them do this thing that they do all the time. And anyway, they've got halfway down, and I've seen what I thought at first was a fox at the end of this route. And both the girls have seen this, freaked out, and started coming back to me. My little girl has got so scared she's sort of fallen over. So I've run to her, and as I'm running, I'm keeping an eye on whatever this thing is, and it's gone. It's just disappeared. And I've got to the girls, I'm like, girls, you okay? What's the matter? You all right? What did you see? And they said, we saw this big wolf. This is what they were saying. They saw this wolf. And I was thinking, okay, it could be, you know, just a big dog. You know, I'll see the owner in a minute. But I never saw anyone come. Didn't see where this dog went off. So yeah, there's some stuff going on here. I don't know if it's related to that, but it could be.
Yeah, it's still interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You big hypocrite, you! I swear to God.
I know. I know. Like, no, you didn't see anything. No.
Yeah. You're 11 years old, for crying out loud, right?
But she stands by that to that. Like, I ask her now all the time, and she still claims that that's what she saw. And you know, maybe, I don't know, but yeah, man.
That's right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So like, no, I was going to ask you, what did you mentioned your wife and kids. What is like the rest of your family and friends, and like, of course your coworkers think about all this when you talk to them about this stuff?
I think my co-workers think I'm crazy. You get that look, you know. Yeah. I think most people are interested in the paranormal. Right, like, you talk to someone and they give you that look, and they're like, I had this experience once. Like, you always get that. I had this experience. I saw this when I was a kid, whatever it is. Right. But I am probably seen as the crazy guy, to be honest. But when any weird stuff happens, I'm always like, if family members or friends or co-workers, they'll ring me up and go, Tommy, I've seen this. What is that? Like, what do you think that is? And I quite like that. But
oh yeah, man, I love it too. I love it too. Everyone knows that, you know, I'm the guy they contact, you know, or, you know, or everyone says, hey, call Joe. Joe, you know, Joe can help you out. Joe can talk to you about it, you know. I remember one time I was at my cousin's house. We were watching boxing, and Canelo was fighting. You know Canelo, right? Okay, well, he was fighting, and it was, I can't remember who he was fighting, but it was a big fight. It was just about 4 years ago. And we're at my cousin's house, and we're outside in the backyard. We're all drinking before the main event comes on, and the main event's coming on. Here comes Canelo. He's going to the ring. The fight started, and everyone is outside listening to my crazy ass stories. Yeah, it was so.
That's more interesting, man.
Yeah, everybody was.
Yeah.
It was so funny, and then we all moved back inside, and we're there on YouTube on my phone, and I'm showing them different videos, and everyone's like crowded around the phone looking at the fights going on TV. It was just so funny.
Everyone loves the paranormal, man.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing. Like even people that say they don't,
hmm
they do.
yeah, and you kind of touched on that earlier about how like the paranormal seems to be more accepted. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I mean, celebrities come out and they talk about this kind of stuff, and uh, I guess because it's something that on percentage wise, more people are probably going to have more paranormal experiences than they do, with cryptids or what have you. Even
Mhm.
UFOs, even though there are celebrities and who've come out and said they've seen UFOs and stuff, but so many people come out and they talk about the paranormal. I think that's more accepted now than it used to be. Yeah. I
It's
like
very.
watching those celebrity ghost stories myself.
Oh yeah, yeah, I do, man.
Yeah.
It's very rare to meet someone that hasn't experienced anything. Like
Hmm.
you do get people that say, "No,
Yeah.
I've not had anything,"
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's quite rare. Like
Yeah.
most people, even people that say they don't believe in anything,
Hmm.
normally have had some sort of experience still.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my best friend, and we've been best friends since we were, I don't know, 13, 14 years old. He thinks I'm crazy about this stuff because he's never experienced anything. Like his wife and kids, they're like, "Oh yeah, this stuff is real." Not him. He's like, "That's what it is." Yeah. That's okay, man. That's okay.
Yeah,
Anytime I got something strange to show him, he's one of the first people I show because he's got that mindset and he can think,
hmm
outside the box a little bit, and he keeps me
yeah,
honest. So
yeah.
it's pretty cool.
My brother's a bit like that. Like he does. Obviously, we both experience what we experienced in our house as a kid,
Yeah.
but he's still very skeptical. He's
Mhm.
still very, I'll show him something and he'll be like, yeah, it could be this, it could be that. And did you definitely see that? And stuff like, it'll be very much
Mhm.
that. So even though he's had some cool experiences as well,
Yeah.
like when our dog passed, our pet dog, he heard the dog run up the stairs and he felt him jump between his legs and he wasn't there, obviously he passed.
Yeah.
And he felt that, like he had that moment. And still he's like, yeah, but I'm not 100%. I'm like, but bruv, you felt that our dog jump on you like in the routine that he used to do all the
Yeah.
time. But he's not having it.
Yeah. He just in denial, right?
He's in denial. But I think
That's,
a lot of you, because you can't control the paranormal,
mhm.
like things can just happen. You can't
Yeah.
control it, and I think that's what people don't like.
Yeah.
Some people, and I get
Mhm.
it.
Mhm. So, as far as cryptids go, do you have a favorite?
Bigfoot,
Bigfoot.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I love. It was sort of obviously Loch Ness as well, and there's loads. The Mothman, I love them all really, but Bigfoot for me has always been since seeing the Patterson Gimlin film as a kid.
Mhm.
Like for me, that film is. Well, what's your thoughts on that on the Patterson Gimlin film?
Oh, I think it's the real deal. I
Yeah,
think it's the real
yeah, I
deal.
do.
And I've actually, met Bob too.
Oh
About
wow!
4 or 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, yeah, I met Bob, and
Oh, that's
dude, I
cool,
had an
man.
Astros cap, a baseball cap, and he signed it for me, right?
Oh,
And last year when I went to Vegas, I left it in Vegas.
oh no!
Yes, so I need,
Oh
he's getting up there in years. I need to go somewhere he's going to be and
yeah,
sign me another cap. But it
I'd
was
love
it,
to
it,
meet
it
him,
was
man.
always funny because people would always like see my hat autographed. They would be like, "Hey, who signed your hat?" I'd be like, "Bob Gimlin." They would be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay." They had no idea, right? And they would just walk away. And
yeah.
I only had one person, this lady, when I was at a crystal shop and I was buying some crystals, and she goes, "Who signed your hat?" And I said, "Bob Gimlin." And she looks, goes, "Who's Bob Gimlin?" Like that. She was the only one that ever asked me. So when I told her, she was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." Yeah.
Better than any sportsman, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um,
I'd love to meet him. Oh,
yeah. But I think it's the real deal. I think every once in a while, once a year, crazy stuff comes out about that footage. There's a massacre there. There's five more in the bushes, and people start circling stuff, and that gets on my nerves so bad
Mhm.
because Bob and Robert were the only two guys there. You know, take these guys at their word. You know what happened. You know,
Mhm.
yeah.
And back then, I don't think you could have faked it as good as that looked. I think it was someone that worked on Star Wars said there's no way that any makeup team or Hollywood team.
It was Bill Munns. He worked on the Planet of the Apes.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And Bill Munn said that the reason why those, the original Planet of the Apes, the reason why they had clothes was because they wanted to hide all the zippers and the buckles. And that's why they had clothes on. You know,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
because they couldn't do that.
yeah, and Bill Munns also said he goes, you could fake a costume, but what you can't fake are the proportions, because like from the shoulders to the elbows to the wrist,
Hmm.
the hips to the knees to the ankles, because it was way
Yeah.
out of proportion, and they'd done all the measurements on this creature, several times over, and it's just out of proportion.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you can see the leg muscles and yeah, man.
He says Bigfoot conference in October. Where's the conference at, Adam? Is it going to be here in Texas?
I'm coming over.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, man. Oh, I was going to ask you, about Loch Ness. What was that like? You being so close to there, is that, or was that a big deal for you guys?
Well, you're not going to believe this. I've not been there.
Oh, you need to go.
Which is, I've been to Scotland. Scotland's a really cool, spooky
Yeah.
place, but I've not been to Loch Ness yet. My dad's been there,
Mhm.
and that is, before I come to America, that I
Have you
need to
ever had
go.
anyone on your show regarding Loch Ness?
Um,
Because I know a young lady, her dad was like one of the original guys. He started
okay.
like, yeah, it's called the Loch Ness Monster Fan Club, and her dad started
Oh,
it like in 1969.
oh
And then
wow.
like in the late '90s, he was finally like gonna get done with it, and she's like, "No, I'll take over for you." And I had her on my show, and yeah,
Oh
she's
wow.
super cool chick. She's super
That's
cool.
cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I had Jody Cook on the show.
Okay, the
And
Dogman guy.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
and he said an interesting story because he was ex-military,
Hmm.
and he said that he was serving it was in, I think it was in Iraq,
Hmm.
and he said there was a lake that had a Loch Ness type creature in that was guarded,
Hmm.
that they wouldn't let you get close to because he said that they were looking after it, and it was
Okay.
like a top secret thing. I like to think that these creatures, there is more. I would
Yeah.
I would have thought if the Nessie is there, then there is more. I would have
Yeah.
thought, because obviously you got the lake champ,
Yeah.
and these things are seen like Bigfoot all around.
Hmm. Yeah. I had when I lived outside of San Antonio for a couple of years, and when I was working there, this kid came up to me, and he was telling me that his mother was from South America, and that she was from a small tribe. They lived in a small village, and that they were told not to go down to the river because there was a monster that lived in the river. So nobody went to this particular river.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah, yeah.
did they say what it looked like and stuff? Or
The word that he used was that they called it a dinosaur. That's what they called it. They said
interesting.
there was a dinosaur down at this particular river that the village was nearby. So nobody went there. They went to another river to go do all their fishing or whatever. Yeah,
Mhm.
which I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Mhm.
But there's definitely stuff in our oceans that we undiscovered that we haven't seen yet, and I'm sure some of these things are big, probably dinosaur-looking things. Um, so I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot out there, man.
Do you remember that story about that great white they had tagged, and then for some unknown reason, it started going to a depth that great whites don't go to, and not
Yes.
only that, but the temperature rose.
Mhm.
So the further down you go in the ocean, the colder it's going to get. First of all, so why would it go? Why would the temperature go up? It had to have been inside, of a living creature that they
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, man. Possibly a megalodon.
yeah, something
Possibly.
or something huge, yeah.
Yeah, man. There's that scares me, but I find it so fascinating what could be out there in
Hmm.
our oceans. You know.
Yeah, we gotta watch out everywhere we go.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
do you guys have the Dogman there also? Are there any reports of Dogman?
Yeah. I've spoken to people that have seen dogman-like creatures.
Hmm.
Um, Again, I put that in a supernatural sort of category, possibly.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, I've had a few witnesses on the show that have seen dogman type creatures here in the UK. Very much described the same way as in the US.
Hmm.
Same sort of size. They're not normally a nice encounter with a dogman. They seem to
Right,
be aggressive. I've spoke to Andy Decodes, who's seen an Anubis type creature while he
right.
was working one day. He was driving, and he said he stopped off at this forested area, and he looked and he saw what looked like an Anubis dressed in, you
Hmm.
know, clothing. And he said this thing disappeared. He went out, got out, looked around the area, and couldn't see anything. So yeah, man. Again, I'd love to see something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, I had a guest on one of my shows, um, and he was in Florida. He was doing like he was a Mormon, I believe, at that time, and they were doing the door to door, hey, have you heard of Jesus Christ or whatever. His area was the backwoods of Florida, swampy area, and they passed by this the Anubis type creature, and he said that the sand was so soft there that trucks or your vehicle could actually get stuck. So we're only literally going like 2 or 3 miles an hour, and this creature put its nose against his window and breathed just like it did on Jurassic Park. Where that T-Rex.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. But he said it wasn't aggressive. It didn't look aggressive. It looked more curious.
Mhm.
Yeah, but he said it was so tall it actually bent down, and it was on all fours, and it bent down to look in their car. Yeah, yeah,
See, like the UFOs, Bigfoot, and this is just my opinion, but I think there's different types.
hmm
I think you could get flesh and blood creatures that fit that description.
hmm
But then I also do think there could be like a supernatural side to these things.
You know, and it's so funny, but I got to come back on the show and tell you some of this stuff. One of a good friend of mine, he was telling me that because he's a dispatcher for oil companies, so he dispatches trucks all the time. He he had his Bigfoot sighting, and you know, he asked one of the truck drivers one time. He was a new guy, and he was like, "Hey, have you ever seen anything strange?" And the guy didn't want to tell my buddy about what happened, so my friend Walter told him what happened to him. So the guy tells Walter that he saw a creature walking on two legs that looked like a big dog or like a werewolf, and that it was so tall its head came over the hood of the 18 wheeler. And when he passed it, he looked in his mirror to get another look at it, but it was a man. It was a naked man walking.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
So and I told somebody about this one time, and I was like, so I guess it turned back into a man. He goes, well, maybe it didn't turn back into a man. Maybe that was just a reflection. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a weird experience. Now make of this what you want as well. Another weird experience, I know.
Yeah.
this
Hey,
this
that's what
was
we're here for.
this was in so this is where I was living now. So I told you I literally work 30 minutes away from where I live. Like not 30 minutes, 30 seconds. It's very just across the road.
Yeah.
And so I leave work at 1 a.m. UK time, and it's very quiet in this area. You very rarely see anyone at that time. Like you don't normally see a car or anything. It's very quiet. And I'm walking home, and I saw a lady just walking along. I thought, that's a bit strange. You don't normally see people anyway. So she's walked along, and there's a bus stop, like literally right near my house, and she's walked into the bus stop. And there was a point where I couldn't see her when she's in the bus stop, and a fox came out of the bus stop, turned and looked at me, and then run off. Right? And I'm thinking, oh, that's weird. Like that lady must have scared the fox out. But it didn't like run off straight away. It was sort of strolled out, looked around, and so I'm expecting to see a lady standing in the bus stop. So I'm walking along, I've looked back, no lady there. And
Hmm.
I'm like, what? Where could she have gone? And I'm not saying that she turned into a fox,
Yeah.
but it was very weird, man. I have no idea where she went. There's nowhere she could have gone. There was no like
Yeah.
route she could have took to get away quick. It was very weird. And I was just about to do an interview, so I was like trying to sort of just get into that mode of doing, and I was like, that's just so weird, man. What have I just seen there? And I couldn't. To this day, I don't know what that was.
Hmm.
Very strange.
Yeah, for sure. There's Miss JD. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. So one last question I did want to ask you. What do you think about the Kandahar giant? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I find that so interesting, man.
Yeah.
I like to think that there is giants
Hmm.
still out there now. I definitely think they were out. They have been around. I
Hmm.
think the giant bones that we find that go missing or get taken or whatever. But that story I find so interesting, man. I do like to think that they're still there.
Right.
What they are, don't know. Um, but yeah, that story is fascinating. When you hear something from someone who works in the military
Mm.
or someone that works in the police force, someone who does that type of job, and they tell you an experience like that, or you
Hmm.
hear an experience like that from them, I don't know. It just there seems to be even more credibility.
Right. Yeah. So I had a family member that was in Afghanistan, and when he came back, he told me that these stories would revolve around the base that that he was on, and that a lot of people seem to actually believe the stories. And then also the people there in Afghanistan would tell him, "Don't go to the mountains because there were giants in the mountain." Yeah, so he's like, he really didn't know what to really make of it, if it was true or not. He says, but some of the people that he talked to seemed to believe that these stories were true, were absolutely true. So
Yeah,
yeah, so it's kind of weird.
yeah, man. Yeah,
But
it's
that kind of
fascinating.
hard giant story, it's a pretty cool story. I mean, not a cool story, but it's something that I don't know, man. It seems to have some kind of traction to it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's fascinating. And apparently, it had the red hair,
yeah.
so I like to think
And
that
like
possibly.
6 fingers, 6 digits, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was carried away on a helicopter, and
Hmm.
yeah, and there
Yeah.
seems to have been quite a few people involved, and quite a few people seem to come out and talk about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
That's what I
crazy.
find so interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. That is
cool. Yeah.
super interesting. That is that giants and that fascinates me so much to think that they're
Hmm.
possibly still out there.
Yeah.
You know.
And I know, like in Alaska, and I'm sure if they're in Alaska, they're in Canada, but Alaska seems to have these, giants, 12, 14, 15-foot giants
Hmm.
running around up there. So who
Yeah,
knows, man? Who knows?
yeah. And some of the Bigfoot seem to get that big as well. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. We have the further up north.
you get reports of 15-foot Bigfoot sometimes, and yeah, man, wild.
Yeah, we can stay here and talk for another 2 hours about this stuff, man.
Let's do it, man. I'm here for it.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, yeah. We definitely have to have you back. I'd love to come back on your show too,
Yeah,
and
100%,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Tell people where they can find your show, man.
Well, thank you for having me, man. It's been an absolute blast. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You can find me wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're also on YouTube now, so you can watch the uh, most of the interviews are on YouTube. So yeah, come say hi, man. If you've got a paranormal experience you want to get off your chest and share with us, let's go.
Yeah,
Thank you
man.
very much, man. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you too, man. Yeah, guys, you guys go find them, check them out. If you got something you want to share with them, and you can't get a hold of them, get a hold of me. I'll pass along your information for you. I'm sure, he's a good guy. He's a great guy to talk to. Uh, one of the easier people to talk to. I could talk to this guy, like I said, for another 2 or 3 hours probably.
Thank you,
But
brother.
yeah, dude. Everyone else in the chat, thanks a lot, guys. You guys did a great job as always. Thanks for tuning in. And I have a show, I think this week, but I'm not for sure Monday. And I don't know who's on next Monday. I never know. So uh, you have to tune in next Monday, guys. So with all that being said, thanks a lot for tuning in. And hold on real quick, buddy. You're